What's going on, guys? So I wanted to make a video today that's not only applicable to me, but it's applicable to a lot of my clients right now. Not only am I going through a diet phase at the moment, but I also have a handful of clients who are going through a diet phase as well. And for some of them, it's one of their first real diet phases that they've ever committed to. So by saying that, a lot of these people, if it's their first diet phase and they weren't doing a diet under the supervision of a coach, there would be some mistakes that get made. And a lot of the mistakes that I'm going to talk about, I've made personally. So by failing in some of my past diets before, not only can I share that wisdom on with some of my clients, but I'm hoping to be able to share some of the wisdom onto you guys. So not only are some of these applicable to general population clients, just people that want to lose weight for the beach or something like that. But a lot of these are applicable to strength athletes and physique athletes, because those are the majority of the clients that I work with specifically. So to just get started, one of the biggest mistakes that I always see made about dieting is that all of the decisions that are made in the diet are based off of the scale. So the scale is, in fact, it's a valuable form of biofeedback for sure, but it is not the end-all, be-all form of biofeedback that we should be basing all of our dietary decisions off of. We know that scale weight is dependent on so many factors, and because it's dependent on so many factors, it can very easily become an inconsistent variable to track. Your scale weight can fluctuate depending on how big you are, anywhere from 5 to like 15 pounds a day. So that's something that there's really not a lot of wiggle room to be making a lot of, I will say, clutch decisions based off the body weight, unless you're a competitor who has to make a weight class, whether that's powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever. If you have to make a weight class, then obviously the number on the scale does matter. But if you're not limited to a weight class, or you're just dieting for the beach or something, then the scale, while it is valuable, it is absolutely not the only form, or the most, in my opinion, the most valuable form of biofeedback that you should be tracking. What this is usually expressed as is people, they make changes to their diet, and if they don't see any changes on the scale, then they immediately pull more food or increase expenditure more, which in a lot of cases can be a problem and can cause more harm than good. Which all of this coming together kind of leads into the second mistake. And the second mistake is that you're either not taking pictures, or the pictures that you're taking are inconsistent and of low quality. So the majority of the dietary changes that you make, whether that's pulling food, adding food, increasing expenditure, pulling expenditure back, they should be made based off of the progress that your physique is making from the last set of changes that you made. Now, the only way to consistently check your physique in an unaltered manner to make sure that the changes that you made are actually working is to take progress pictures. And not just any type of progress pictures, good quality progress pictures. So a good quality progress picture is taken usually the same day every week in the same place at around the same time in a consistent body status. So that could be, you take your pictures every morning after, or every Monday morning after 500 milliliters of water. In my opinion, the best way to take your pictures is completely fasted. You have no water, no food. You wake up and you either have your morning piss, or you have a bowel movement, whatever, and then you take your pictures based off of that. That's the only way that you can really make sure that your pictures are consistent week in and week out. They're taken in the same place, in the same status. You're not taking pictures one week completely fasted, the next week you have a liter of water and a meal in your system, and then you're taking pictures, because that's going to throw off the look. So we want to make sure that your pictures are consistent, they're high quality, and you're making your decisions based off of pulling food, adding food, and expenditure as well, based off of the pictures and not necessarily the scale. This one's more for bodybuilders. It's increasing your training volume in an attempt to increase your caloric expenditure. So when you're in a dieting phase, we know that your recovery is limited. Why is your recovery limited? Because your food is limited. Food and sleep are two of the bigger things the biggest things that contribute to recovery in the gym. And we know that being able to recover from your sessions is going to be what determines if you keep your muscle, you burn your muscle essentially, or you even slightly build muscle when you're in a caloric deficit. By increasing your training volume while simultaneously decreasing your caloric intake and also increasing caloric expenditure through other means, whether that be NEAT, cardio, now you're doing more work in the gym, but you're giving your body less fuel to recover from that work and even execute that work. So now your ability to recover from this increased training volume is significantly decreased, which puts your body in an accelerated state of overreaching, which, if repeated long enough, is extremely catabolic and will single-handedly ruin your look and your performance. There is no better way to look flat and stringy when you're dieting than to be overtrained. And I understand in the aspects of a contest prep, there is going to be a time where you're overtrained, and that's just part of the game. But I think, with the exception of maybe the last 4 weeks or so, if you're smart in how you time your prep and you give yourself enough time and you take the appropriate steps in the off season to set yourself up right for your contest prep, this can be avoided for as long as we realistically can hold it off. Remember that our ability to hold on to our muscle tissue is entirely based off of our recovery capabilities. So being overtrained is a surefire way to lose your muscle when you're in a dieting phase. I almost recommend, once you get into a situation of overtrain when you're in a diet, that you actually decrease your training volume so that you can kind of even out your recovery capabilities, as well as you're evening out your recovery capabilities to make it more on par with your energy intake. The next mistake that's very common is playing all of your cards at once. So at the very beginning of your diet, you immediately add in large amounts of cardio. You make a huge pull from your calories, usually from carbohydrates. You add in Clen, T3, ECA, yohimbine, all of that shit, DNP if you're a fucking maniac. You throw in all of those things all at once. Now, what you're going to notice when you throw in all of these things at once is that this is going to work, and it's going to work very well for a short period of time. But once your body develops homeostasis, you have nowhere to go from. If you're starting your diet off on 1,500 calories, 1 hour of cardio, 120 micrograms of Clen, and 50 micrograms of T3, when you eventually hit a plateau, because eventually your body and your metabolism is going to adapt to that, where are you going to go from here? You're going to increase T3, you're going to increase Clen, add more cardio, pull more food. All of that shit is already at the max where I would deem safe to have it. So you kind of backed yourself into a corner. You have nowhere to go from here. That's something that's very common. More so in an off-season mini cut diet, where in that instance, I do think that it is applicable. That's another topic for another day. But for this specific instance, I'm talking about a prolonged diet, one that you're committed to, and to getting a lot of body fat off in a shorter amount of time, so that you can either in a contest prep or like a diet for the summer. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just doing a little moving around here. I got a 10-minute time limit, so I might have to go and do a second part. The next is changing your style of training. Again, for my bodybuilders out there, there is a quote that I heard that I can't 100% remember who it was that said it. But the quote is, dance with the one that you came with. And what this means is what you did in your off season to build your muscle tissue and increase your density is exactly what you need to do in your prep or in your diet, so that you keep that muscle and you don't catabolize any of it. You don't lose any of the tissue. So if you're not doing drop sets or supersets or any of those things, rest pauses in your off season, don't start adding those in when you're in contest prep. Just again, going back to the one of the earlier points, to increase your caloric expenditure, it's not smart because you can't recover from those things. Don't decrease the load on a bar in an effort to increase your reps to get more caloric expenditure. Again, the more mechanical tension we can put on the muscle, the more calories that we'll be able to burn in the sake of a contest prep, be able to hold our muscle more and maybe even build more as we go on through the contest prep. All right, guys, I'm going to make a part 2, running out of time here. Catch you in a bit.